Hi Noel,
Hi, Gareth.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about this, our second episode
Me
of
too.
Put the Bucket in the Bucket. You're excited too. That's great.
Sticking to the name, aren't we?
I said tentative, so it's still,
Still
yeah, we're sticking to it. It's still
know
tentative.
what it means.
Like, I haven't given it any thought.
I can tell.
Okay, so we did episode one, and that's what Noel is alluding to. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. It was kind of like a stream of consciousness, and it's kind of setting the scene somewhat in a very ephemeral, loose way, I suppose. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 more episodes. This is episode two, so obviously we'll finish on episode 11. And this episode is going to be called "The World We Built." So, Noel, you spoke to the idea of world building, and we're going to explore that a little bit in this episode. Okay.
All right.
So, I think at the beginning as well, it probably makes sense to share that we're brothers. So, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of baggage, there's a lot of love, and we'll be alluding to our experiences growing up in the same household, going through life together at times, apart at other times, and kind of how we've experienced it. I don't know, Noel, if you want to say anything to that.
I'm supposed to be talking faster, aren't I? No. Unless, well, no. It's fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think it's also important to note that we're not therapists, we're not mental health practitioners, we're not coming at this from a solutions point of view for people who are perhaps looking for something specific. We are speaking from our own experiences. Certainly, I think that for me is extremely important. I'm not going to talk about anything I don't know about, and my knowledge comes from my own experience. I'll try and be, always aware that it's just one viewpoint out of many.
I think it's the ending of viewpoints, isn't it? But okay.
Well, there may be common things. There may be things that are universal. There may be things that are just weird things about me. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So, the world we built. So, no, the
Gareth.
end of world building.
Yes.
So, what you alluded to was perhaps the world that you had built was built for a reason. And that reason is no longer somehow pertinent anymore. Is that what
Yeah.
underlies the end of world building?
Yeah, it's kind of I guess there's an exhaustion to it, almost like an apathy with maybe that's middle age. I don't know, but it's definitely like a. It's not really the thought. What's the point, or anything like that? Like, why have I done this or anything? But oh, I don't know where to begin. To be honest with you, like, is it like we want to start saying things about the ideas that we built up, or how we interact with each other, or the ending of those things? Because I could give, for example, I could give you a strong example of something that ended for me last year in relation to my ideas about you.
Well, I mean, I can't leave that hanging.
The next episode. Stay
I'd
tuned.
love to know what that is. Um,
I think I told you. So,
you
okay.
think you did? Okay.
Yeah. So I realized that I'm like, there are just like, there's ideas that I have that are kind of linked to feelings in the body, and it's real fixations that you have throughout your life. And as they get let go, those fixations go, and it's almost as if it never existed. You struggle to remember what it was you were getting so worked up about in a strange way. Because just like the bodily reaction to whatever it is that you think you're experiencing just isn't there anymore. So there's kind of an exhaustive, like you not an exhaustive, an exhaustion, an apathy that's kind of set in over the last few years, which I can't quite pinpoint what the source of it is. But it has to do with world building.
So, like, world building to me was very wrapped up in my own identity, in the sense that they were kind of indistinguishable. You know, I built the world or positioned, myself within a job and where I wanted to live and relationships and how I interacted with family. And in my mind, this was all part of who I was and a reflection, kind of a reflection of who I was. So like, I was good at maths, so I worked towards tasks and education and jobs where you can use those skills, and then that's part of who you are. I am that guy. I used to be that guy who was good at those things.
Okay.
It's kind of along those lines that I saw the world building taking shape, but I didn't really know that there's a way of looking at this stuff that's outside of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Until
Yeah.
all of this stopped working.
Yeah.
So this idea of a personality that you have, that you embody and reflect into the things that you do and you have in your life, is something that you can get outside of, which is kind of mind-blowing and weird and perhaps difficult to understand. But the first sign of it that I had, just to put the ending on this, the first sign of it that I had was when things just kind of stopped working. It was like loops, always coming back to the same kind of situation. And then I'm thinking, I need to, well, I'm this kind of person who likes maths, therefore I just need to double down on that or find more things to do in that area. I'm just using this as a concrete example.
Yeah.
So like looking for different jobs or looking for like hobbies, right? Hobbies. I was the guy who liked playing music. And I mean, you mentioned last episode that, you were coming out of, or you're in your life where you have small children. My children are a bit older, but, I remember the time when I wanted to play music, but I kind of couldn't because whenever I got my guitar out, the kids were all over it and it wasn't going to last 5 seconds.
That's exactly how things are now.
So I couldn't do that hobby. And then it was like, well, who am I? Like, it's not like it's not like you go from trying to do something, you get frustrated, then you have an existential crisis. There are more steps involved until you hit existential crisis. But
I think
that's the start of it.
I think it's the other way around. The one thing you don't realize is the existential crisis comes first. You bounce off of that
Yeah,
early,
right. Yeah,
super
early.
early,
Yeah, yeah.
but also all the time. And so, if I could jump in now, because I'm getting like you've got me now. I see where we are now. Like there's kind of two sets of filters that seem to be appearing. And the first one is the one that everyone's staring at, which is, well, I could be a police officer or a navy captain or a banker, and I tried this and I failed at that and I couldn't do this, or I wanted to be a rower and then I realized I hated it, but still holding on to the idea that I used to be one in a way, or like there's all of these loops that you go through, which is all part of the avoidance of the existential crisis. And hitting the existential crisis happens when all of those loops stop working, or some of them start to kind of, you hit a wall with a loop and you drop down, and the loop stopped, but you've still got the energy kind of for the loop in a way. You've kind of got this kind of energy that's going nowhere, and it creates a huge amount of tension in you. You just find yourself just being angry and you don't know why, or sad or grieving or whatever it is, and you don't know why. After the loop has stopped, because you hit a brick wall. Like, I thought I was going to be senior manager of this, or I thought I was going to be a sports star, or I thought my life would be X. You find yourself somewhere else entirely, and you're like, where were the decisions? Where were the
Yeah.
decisions?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
kind of realizing, like, almost in a way, I don't know, it's like it kind of bifurcates then to like taking full responsibility for all those decisions and really feeling the full weight of that responsibility of like all of my choices have led to right now. And then on the other hand, it's like punching through that and then seeing there's, well, this is where things like start to get weird, is like there's no one here and there's never was a choice and there's no choices to be made, which
Yeah, I
is kind
think that would
that's
be jumping many,
that's
many
jumping.
steps ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, but sometimes, like for me, it was punching all the way through it all at once. So there was nothing gradual.
Interesting.
It was
So
nothing.
I like how you spoke about the loops. Loops just kind of like the whirlwind, just keeping the energy going, but somehow not working or not seeing tangible results. And I think that
It's
kind of
like,
speaks to this kind of feeling of exhaustion that many people have. I've certainly had it, and for me, the loops were, they can tend to cluster around, like, to use that word again from the first episode, roles. It's like I had a role of being the helpful one, or being the one who can figure things out, or being the one to bring order into the chaos, let's say. These are skills that I have, right? I can put them on my CV and that's completely fine. I don't mind doing them. But there's a loop, or there was a loop underneath them, keeping the
yeah,
energy going
yeah,
when I didn't want the energy to be going. I wanted to
yeah,
stop that and sit with, well, I wanted to stop it, but I didn't want to sit what was underneath it.
yeah.
So
Because what happens? What happens when it stops?
yeah, yeah. What
What happens
happens?
when it stops?
Yeah,
Exactly.
if
Maybe to
it's
give
your
like,
identity.
yeah, like maybe to give a couple of concrete examples. because I think it's maybe slightly esoteric, is like, I realized last year that I don't like you. Like, but it wasn't that I don't like you specifically, because I just wasn't seeing you. So I realized I didn't like you, and it was coming from a frustration of you not being who I expected you to be. And also the matching of what I believe you said you'd do versus what you ended up doing. Not to say of any things that you end up doing, or it's just really almost like forgetting about trying to influence your patterns and just seeing that my pattern was to try and get you to do something together. I wanted to do stuff together. And you saying yes, and then it not happening. And I felt this deep internal, like deep down in my gut and in my hips, of like this real pain of like wanting to be together, wanting to do it together, and like you just not turning up for it. So like an abandonment type thing. And it's like things have come up, like thoughts have come up, or sort of like, you're leaving me alone, you're not there for me, or like, let's do it together, this kind of like needing to be together. It's like such a deep thing. And then we talked about this some weeks ago, and you said that we used to go to the bus together, right? And we used to hold hands to go to the bus, and we'd make our own packed lunches. Yeah, there's this kind of like some level of like you're not coming with me, and that's a deep one. And it's like I wasn't seeing you, and it's not like I could like intellectually I knew like you've got kids, you've got work, we live hundreds of kilometers apart from each other, like you've got stuff to do. Like it's more than that. It's just the feeling and just the individual thoughts of like loneliness and you've abandoned me type of feeling. But it's also sort of, yeah, it's also maybe sort of someone else saying to me that I've abandoned them, because that's something that I've heard also in childhood. This kind of, we grew up with people who felt abandoned themselves. I think both our parents have some level of abandonment energy in them, which they haven't known what to do with. And just to finally sort of admit to myself that I don't like you was like a huge sort of relief almost. It kind of unlocked sort of like, oh, I hate him. So, but just like really, like I've said it before, like I've been frustrated with you before and we fought before, but not with that kind of, not with that sort of just quiet pain, sitting with it to myself and not taking it out there into the world, but really letting it sink in, and letting it release. Or like the idea of you wanting you to understand me.
I mean, I could feel that, right, over the years. I knew it. I knew it. not in words, but I could
And yet you
feel
did
it
nothing
right
about
now.
it. Yeah.
Or did I? And it sounds like at that point when you were willing to step out of that loop and feel it, the loop
Yeah.
was he's not fulfilling my expectations, let's say. And then the thing that
Yeah.
was under it was I hate him. You were willing to stop the loop and go down to the feeling and feel it through. And when you told me that,
Yeah.
as you said a few weeks ago, I felt so happy. I mean, we hugged, right? I was like, finally he said it. Finally he said it. Now we can move on. Because
Yeah.
if you really hated me, like really hated me, things would have been different.
Yeah. No, it was a sad. It's. I mean, under the anger was a sadness or a grief,
Yeah, right.
right? And I'm
Yeah.
still like, I still don't know where it's coming from, but I've still got like a lot of pain in the heart at the moment, like a lot of pain, and in my hips as well, which is all sort of trapped emotion somewhere because of something, and I don't know what it is.
And it'll come out as you
Yeah.
make revelations, connect things, and just stop that flywheel on certain patterns that you're in and feel the thing that's underneath. And part of that can be part of the reluctance to do that, I found, is the idea of basically identity and going back to the world building. It's like, well, me being so like I just want to go back to like me studying physics because for me this is a big one. So I like maths. I like physics. I really like physics. So I was in my lane, right, studying that stuff and doing that. That was fine. And I would probably say 50% of me doing that was because I liked it. But 50% of me doing it was for other reasons. And the other reasons were linked to survival. In the end, I wanted to earn money so I didn't have to be poor anymore. And I thought, well, if you study physics, you can go and you can do loads of different things. I can earn money with that. Of course, we're entering the mind of a 16-year-old boy at this stage, so I didn't have, so it was as simple as that. But it was a survival strategy. Now,
Really,
earning money,
I didn't even have that at that age. I studied physics too. I just did it because you did it. I was like, if Gaz is
yeah,
doing it, I'll do it. That was
yeah,
it. Like, I had no plan beyond that.
because you wanted to be with me, because like you just said, so we could hold hands and get on the school bus every day. We went to the same university
We did. Yeah, yeah. It was, but we didn't spend a lot of time together at uni.
because you hated me and I could feel it.
It was more, it was more a complete lack of self-identity and lack of self-worth. Like, had no idea about any, like, just felt so empty. Like, the only way, like, in hindsight, I've described it like being like imagining a small black and white picture of a little boy in a small dark room, just whimpering in the corner on the cold concrete floor. That's kind of like the extent of my sense of self in that period of time.
Yeah, right. And I
Funny
mean,
in hindsight.
well, it's clearly awful, and
Yeah.
it's clearly something that you've come to terms with to some extent, or are working on as you're sharing.
I think the thing has been actually just to think about, just to confront myself there. It's humor that's been the thing that covers for it.
Yeah, yeah. And there we go again, a survival strategy.
Bouncing off it, bouncing off that feeling, and then being like, "Oh, I'll tell a joke. That now I feel better."
Yeah.
Oops.
What happens when you stop that loop?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. But this is the process. You become conscious of it. Gradually, you can work in. You can work into these things and see what's underneath them. So what we've discussed so far is kind of like concrete examples of certain loops that we've had that have come from, you know, behavioral adaptation. That sounds fancy but that's kind of what it feels like. You adapt your behavior to fit in with the emotional space, the physical space that we grew up in. I guess everyone does that. And at some point, those flywheels don't work anymore. And you start to get a feeling for these things aren't working.
And you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do.
And
I,
sorry, go for it.
that's absolutely right. You don't know what to do. So you kind of have, there seem to be a couple of obvious choices, but it seems like there's a cost involved in maintaining a certain personality, which would be, let's say the emotional baggage that you're carrying with you. And then there's also a cost involved in unwinding that and trying to get through to the other side, trying to let go of the baggage and punch through it, I think is the way you described it. So it kind of, how it was for me is you kind of have these two routes in front of you, both of which are completely unappealing. And that can be a very difficult moment when this dawns on you, and then you go into a loop of, well, you don't know what to do, which is,
or what would you become? There's kind of the existential fear of what would you become if you could escape this, and the behaviors that come through fighting this sense of lack of self-worth or whatever it is, and trying to do things out there in the world to sort of combat that and overcome it through everything but looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. And then the fear of losing that, if you have achieved some things, like getting a physics degree and earning a reasonable amount of money, and all those things, there's kind of like giving that up. If you escape it, there's the feeling of everything you missed out on because of your own personal limitations. This kind of, what could I have been? Sort of the grief for the cost, I think, is extremely high. It's extremely high. But again, realizing that the thoughts and the fear are two separate things. The thought of, oh, I could have had a even bigger house, or I could have become someone, world famous, or whatever the thought is, or I could have had a better spouse, or happier children, or whatever you could possibly imagine. All of those things are tied back to just the emotion and the sensation and the holding on to of a sense of self and the fear of letting it go.
Yeah, exactly. And linking back to something that you said earlier, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost like you build a world for yourself, but then you realize it became a prison, and you have to unpick the decisions, all the decisions. How how could it be that a series of logical, sound, intelligent decisions lands you in a place, or decisions,
Takes you
let's
right
just,
back to where you first began, which is with
yeah,
yourself.
or leads you to a point where you don't feel good. Let's just say it
Yeah.
like that. You don't know where you are. You're in your house. You've got your garden. You've got your kids. You've got your spouse. You've got the car. You've got the job. You're not going to starve. You're not going to freeze to death. Yet
Yeah.
you're just like, hang on, how did I get here? Yeah,
Well, we
it's a
didn't like.
realization.
Yeah. The problem we've got, Gaz, though, for anyone listening out there who hasn't had this, is that we both freed ourselves from that to a large extent. Our point of seeing through it was a breaking point, an emotional breaking point due to circumstances in life. And that we went, or we saw the precipice. And for me, it was literally in the moment, it was the visualization of cutting the cord against a weight hanging over a precipice. I mean, I could talk about that a bit more. And for you as well, it was the death of our father that suddenly sort of started epic journey of discovery of pain,
Yeah.
if I could put it that way. Like
No, I
discovering
mean, that
pain,
was exactly it. Yeah.
discovering pain all over again. Um, and that's not, yeah, and that's like, well, mine was a world of pain in itself, but mine was basically being confronted with kind of two realities. It was kind of, well, it was multifaceted because it was like something had happened that meant there was an end to something going on in life. Nothing hugely dramatic, but it was just an end point, and it was a surprise and an unwelcome surprise, and I didn't like it. And I was fearful, and it was this huge fear of like this change in life that was sort of like I'd just been hunkered down for decades and trying to be as safe as possible, like saving my money as hard as I could. I was not going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have a life. I cut my own hair. I still cut my own hair. But, just like living like a dog with a good amount of money and still like not giving myself anything. Like I wouldn't buy myself nice things. I didn't have nice clothes. I didn't moisturize. Like if I did sports, then I would be punishing myself doing sports. It would be training twice a day for 5 hours, rather like just doing like half an hour here and there run was not on. I couldn't do it. Like I had to filter. I had needed somewhere to put all of this frustration and anger and guilt and grief, huge amounts of grief. So there was that. And then there was another thing that had happened in life that was completely uncontrollable. So we have a disabled daughter, and her disability was completely unknown what it was. And we have a name for it now, but it's neither here nor there. It helps to a certain extent. I'm not going into details on that. But a disabled daughter, and one point of view was, here's this happy little thing. And she's so happy. She's such a wonderful, funny, outgoing, silly little thing who just loves life and is enjoying herself and is having a great time, and she can run and jump and skip and tell stories and everything's fine. And on the other hand, there's this kind of imagination that you have for your life, regardless of where it comes from, of like, my I don't know, it wasn't necessarily coming from me. It was also sort of within the family and stuff. But it's also like, you have this vision of your life of like, I'm going to have kids and they're all going to be physicists too, obviously. And, all going to be rich and famous, or whatever it is. It's kind of, you still have this delusion, unfortunately, even in your late 30s, that like life's going to start or something, or like life's going to be this way sometime in the future. And you're all building towards this kind of future. And then, you bring a child into the world, and that is not the future that they are going to have. And then there's this kind of realization that it was always an illusion. Like, even if your kids do grow up to study physics and have a great and wonderful life and everything's fantastic, you still built this kind of deluded vision of the future in the present, of a thing that is going to happen, or a life that you think you might be having. And then you're confronted with the life you are having. And
Yeah.
those two things at
Yeah.
once kind of came to a head of like, my daughter's life is not going to be the life that I thought it was going to be. But also, I don't know. Like this huge sort of, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what she's got. I don't know how she's going to develop or anything like that. And this huge kind of void in the future opened up. And there was just nothing left. And then everything in the past that I decided to do, all of this sort of keeping myself trapped, keeping my feet, and the vision that I had, the waking vision that I had, was that I'd had my feet in a concrete for years, just like had my feet in concrete, and I was holding a rope, and that rope was tied to a heavy weight that was like going down into the void, basically, like just a deep black hole. And like the weight on the other end, almost like wants you to jump into. It's like, come on, let's go. Like, metaphorically speaking, let's kill ourselves, let's do it. And I was like, no, I choose life. That's what I said. I choose life. And I metaphorically, in that moment, cut the cord.
But what you described there within those two stories, if just link it back to what we were speaking about before, you've got the world building. That's who you were back then.
Yeah.
Doing the sport, full of anger, frustration. The flywheel was get out there and punish yourself. Doing the sport that you did. Also in your bunker, saving money, never going out. Your life became small.
Yeah, making life
And
very, very small.
And in a way, that also speaks to what you said in the second story, where you have this idea of the future for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I did all of these things and created this world for myself, and it solved the problems that I had, like wanting to feel safe. You solved that problem.
Not
Wanting
really,
to feel
because it was constant. It was like that wasn't solving the problem.
right.
Like I'd made myself safe, and then I kind of had made myself safe also within that time frame of like, let's say, like no more mortgage, all that kind of stuff. Like just financially, everything was kind of fine. I could have quit my job, I guess, at that stage. And just done something else, right? But then that feeling of being unsafe had nowhere to go. It was like, I still feel unsafe. I'm still...
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like...
So but this is the thing that I wanted to get to, and you take that one step closer, is that you had a feeling of being unsafe in you, and so you like create a world where you perpetuate the feeling of being unsafe
Yeah.
by needing to be safe, and that kind of gives, like, holds that unsafeness and stops it from... It holds it in place and stops it from being felt, maybe. It's, you're protecting the feeling, and it's kind of like...
Or fighting it.
Like yeah, and like I said before, there's a cost to maintaining it, and but there's also a perceived cost to feeling it. You know,
Mm.
the body doesn't want to go over that precipice, as you put it,
Well, it could
which
it
seemed
couldn't be
to come to
maintained.
you.
Sorry.
No, no, go on.
Well, it's just not maintainable. Like I'd find myself going in waves. Like in previous years before having kids, I'd work so hard that then when we went on holiday for 2 weeks, I'd spend the first week just sleeping or being ill. You know, or
Hmm.
like I said, just like I had for some reason like a fear of going for a haircut, like some kind of guilt or some kind of, I don't know what it was, but it was like, or sending people birthday cards, like some kind of like so fearful of so many strange things that I couldn't get to the root of, that my mind was telling me. I still have a memory of like over a decade ago going to get a birthday card for someone. Like I think it was our aunt. And I remember just looking at the birthday cards and just being like, I don't know why, but I just can't do it. Like there's something in me that is just, I don't know what this is. Like I feel so rejected. I felt so rejected by people, like family, obviously, that I couldn't bring myself to show even love by proxy through sending someone a birthday card.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
I've had my
yeah,
birthday card stuff as well.
yeah.
I've it manifested
It's
in
so
different ways, but it was exactly what you just said. Love by proxy.
yeah,
It's like, give me the real thing or nothing.
yeah,
I don't want.
exactly. It's like this feels fake.
I'm
Like
not going
why
to
would
play the game.
yeah?
And
Oh well, I guess that's a
it's
thought for you, but yeah, yeah, something along those lines.
yeah. So then what you described, just going back to, you were the guy doing the sport. Then you had a particular event which you shared, which then gave you a clearer view of kind of something that you were holding on to, or two conflicting life views that couldn't be held together at the same time in your mind. And you managed to, yeah, not go down into that abyss in that moment. And I guess what I want to do is just kind of maybe find a way of grounding that in a more day-to-day experience, or in a way that anyone listening can relate to in a more day-to-day, because your particular example was intense, which I'm sure, by the time you get to, a certain stage in life, as you pointed out before, life happens. So, plenty of people will have had big things happening in their life, but it can also happen in the mundane. And I think that's what I want to get to,
Mm.
is that it's these kind
Mm.
of inner tensions where you're, yeah, like you say, potentially, like, let's take the birthday card example. You know that you should send a birthday card,
Yeah.
but you don't want to, and you feel it. You feel a tension, and you don't know why, and it's there. And it can, like you say, these small behaviors that hold in place a kind of dynamic inside, and you just want to get rid of it and stop that kind of
Mm.
weirdness, because that's kind of what it was like for me over the years, seeing myself as having a personality. This is who I was. These emotional, like a billion little emotional things pushing me in this direction, making me shy away from that, not speaking up here, you know, overthinking this, overthinking that. At some point, something happens, and it can be, maybe for some people a thought process, some people an emotional thing, some people just completely out of the blue, as it was with me, where it just stops. It's just like, no. It's like this almighty no comes in and says, I'm not doing this. I spent a lot of my time internally, basically, to other people, either, well, externally to other people or internally, my kind of dialogue was one of like, yes, 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 going like overloading myself.
Yeah.
For me, it came, the other side came up. It was like, no. And it was, it was, you know, I mean, awakening in the sense that you become aware of something, not awakening in the sense of seeing the light. I mean, for me, it was actually seeing more the negative, the things I hadn't been wanting to feel.
Yeah.
And it was really, yeah, like these survival strategies and roles that I'd been playing for years came to an end. And I needed to understand where they had come from, why they were there, and what they could be replaced with. And that was really the start of it for me. You mentioned that it started when our father died. I was 38, coming up to 44. And it's been that journey of just picking apart these roles, these patterns, unwinding them, finding out where they came from, what did they protect me from, what have they cost me, like just accepting that and replacing them with something
Yeah.
else, or even not. Sometimes it doesn't really feel like there is a replacement.
Well, I mean, who you are and what you become emerges naturally as these things drop away. And it's like just being open to new things popping up is probably how I would describe what happens once you finally worked out why it is that you get so frustrated that your partner does the dishwasher wrong. Because that's a root. There's a root of something somewhere. Like there's an emotional root to that can be embraced. I think the
Yeah,
concrete thing is like giving those feelings space and realizing that fear and pain, like physical pain as well, because it comes out as not just emotional pain, but physical pain as well, can be lived through. And it's okay, like, even if you're having the thought, like, I can't take this, that's kind of a thought too. And even that can be a portal,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
just sitting down with, like, why can't I send Christmas cards? Why do I?
Yeah,
What is that? It's because I feel rejected. And then, like, oh shit, rejection, right? And then rejection's a big one, right? And then you can find out where in life you've been rejected. But it's always best to sort of do it live, per se. Like if someone is rejecting you, just stop and don't worry about anything they're up to. You can just stop, put your hand on your heart and stare at them and just feel the rejection flowing out of them and just be like, this is a gift. This is a gift. And they might start shouting at you even more if they're confused about your behavior. But
yeah,
yeah, like you can do it quietly and you can sit down and be like, I noticed today. You can journal, obviously. For me, I think I said last time, I do sort of like word game things where I'm kind of sort of like trying to root out different angles at the same thing. Like, where is the emotion? Where is the feeling in my body? What's the thought attached to that? What is the emotion? Like, trying to separate them out first and cut them into their component parts and simplify them. Find where the intersection point is without, like, just curiosity, I guess.
Yeah. I think we need to be clear about the cost, because the cost of maintaining how you are is there. There is a cost because life takes energy. And if you're holding a lot of baggage, then there's a cost to holding baggage. Holding stuff takes energy. But working on it and going through it also takes energy. But then ultimately, you become freer. You
Yeah.
widen the realm of possibilities that you have open to you.
But the cost. So I kind of come back to you on in a couple of angles there. So the not doing other things because of having a so-called narrow life, like when you're in the grip of that, the feeling is, well, what's the point if I do this or I do that? What's the point? Like, I'll still be stuck with this feeling that I have of just like emptiness or frustration or anger or whatever. So it's like a different future, a different life wouldn't solve that problem. And so when we talk about cost from the other angle, you see that the cost is not, hey, I could have been CEO, or hey, I could have, like, it isn't like there's some element of that, of like, I could have had a better life. But the real cost is the years of not being free, emotionally free, and being yourself. So it's got nothing to do with, I could have had more money, I could have been a better person, I could have achieved the thing, because I've won races, I've got a degree, I've earned, I've gotten money in my bank account where I've been like, yes, now what? And a lot of people come to the conclusion of, you've got to keep on going. Someone said that to me the other day. You've got to keep on going. You've got to see it's not working. More is not going to do it. And the cost is chasing more is the cost. And seeing that you are you and you need to be more you rather than trying to run away from you. And you can only be you when you start to confront the idea that you are this shame, these loops, the grief,
Yeah.
the fear,
Yeah.
the loops.
Yeah. You're not the loops, and the loops go when you feel them through. Like you say, the solution isn't.
No.
What did you say? You said, paraphrasing, you feel bad, but changing your life isn't the solution, isn't going to solve that.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
You feel bad,
Yeah.
and the problem is you feeling bad. So feel it through,
Yeah.
and then the feelings go.
And then you just find yourself being more you. Like, I just found myself looking after myself a bit better.
Yeah.
I just found myself being like, oh, I've always wanted to grow my hair long. I just think I will. And I started shaving more often, although not the last couple of days, and just like buying nicer clothes. And you just find yourself doing these things, and it's not effort. Just the effort goes away.
Let's wrap it up. So I think what we've got to is the point that we agree on doubling down on your patterns, on these loops, isn't the way to go. Stopping the loops, sitting with whatever's underneath, and feeling it through is a way to become free of that stuff that you were holding on to. Is that a good summary?
But stopping the loop, like, you can only stop the loop by trying to stop the loop, if you see what I mean. Like, sitting
Yeah.
in it is not you fighting it anymore. Like, don't fight it anymore. Because the huge part of the loop is all loops have two sides of the same coin, and you think doing the opposite of a thing is getting you away from it, but actually it's just driving you towards it, whatever that is. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you have the feeling of, I gotta be out there in the world, I've got to get out of this house, I need to have lots of friends, or whatever it is, then that's the opposite of just, I can't be here, I don't want to be here, I don't like it here, I feel unsafe here. Those are two sides of the same coin. And you can only stop it not by going out, or not by staying at home, but by sitting and looking at both sides and looking at it and being overwhelmed by the incredible fear and grief, or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So if I take your example, what you're saying is that if there's a problem,
There's nowhere to go.
then running away from the problem just confirms the existence of a problem, which doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah. And you're not looking through it to see that there is no problem. The problem was your misunderstanding of what it is you think you're looking at.
Yeah. And once it's felt through, it can be a huge relief.
Crazy.
Both experience that just lightness, and like I think you said at the beginning, like what happens is you go through the feeling, like the grief, let's say it's grief or shame or something comes up, you feel it through, some thoughts come up like, it was to do with that, it was that time when this happened, that kind of thing. Then there's a step of just relief, and then it's gone. Then it's really hard to remember what all the fuss was about.
Yeah. That's
Like
that's even more surprising. It's just like,
yeah,
it's just what was
yeah.
what was that?
I spent 10 years worrying about what? It's like,
You almost completely forget that it was there.
yeah. I've got examples of that where literally spoke to someone about this topic that was really had been really crushing for me in my teenage years, which stayed with me for 20 years. Then the next day I found a way to let go of it, and about 10 minutes after I'd let go of it, I spoke to someone about it, and I just couldn't be bothered to speak about it. I was
Exactly.
like, no, I've got, yeah. And I wanted to come back to this word apathy, because apathy's probably got different meanings to different people.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not necessarily apathy to me and maybe other people.
Well, maybe it's the wrong word, but it's just like this kind of, really? Oh, no. Nah.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like someone would give me a crossword puzzle and say, you have to solve this. I'd be like, what? No, like, I'm not doing this.
No, it's more like, you see someone like your ex-girlfriend calls you. It's more like your ex-girlfriend calls you and you just look at your phone and you're like, the universe is trying to cause you trouble. The universe comes, a situation comes from nowhere. You used to react to that situation like the girlfriend.
Yeah.
You're in trouble, and now you see it and you're like,
yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it. Because I think there's an angle to it where once you're through it, you can even see these things coming. It's like you see the hook coming down on a line and you're like, I'm not biting that. Like you just said with the phone call, but you kind of like see it coming and you kind of can see how you would have maybe acted in a certain way and got triggered by stuff. And you just say, no, I'm not going there. But it's healthy, right? It's healthy.
Exactly. It's a healthy, this is a border. Like, and your borders just automatically, naturally get established. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
I think I turn that around to a slightly different one with hooks, because I heard something the other week, which is the world is full of rings. Straighten your hooks. Like the triggers are all out there. It's you that's getting hooked. So straighten your hooks.
I think we should end on that.
Bye.
Thank you, Noel. Bye.